Hey everybody, today we're going to unbox the Yokomo SD Sport. It is a 110 scale 4-wheel drive shaft-driven touring car chassis kit. And this kit is actually about 8 years old. It came out in 2013. It was designed to be a higher end chassis, so you're going to see a lot of features that are not seen in anything else. In this price range. The reason I got this was I wanted something that I can compare to a TT02. You know, I love the TT02, but I always feel like it's lacking some features in the base model. You would have to buy the RR or the SR to get some of the features I think that's critical for a race-worthy touring car chassis. So that's why I got this. This was from A-Main for $169, which is great bargain for a beginner who wants to have a racing four-wheel drive touring car. So let's go ahead and unbox this. Right, all the bags are labeled according to the step. Bag number 1. These are the front and rear suspension mounts. Bag number 2 is the diff. Comes with bearings. That's good. Number 3 is the bulkhead gearbox. That looks like part of the motor mount. And yeah, some other accessories that's related to the gearbox. Number 4 is the turnbuckles and the steering assembly right here. These 3 pieces, the steering, and those are the turnbuckles. That's bag number 4. Bag number 5 is just the shaft drive. Bag number, that's 9. Bag number 6 is the motor mount. Yep. Bag number 7 is the servo accessories, servo horns, servo savers, and not sure what these are, but mostly related to the servo. And number 8, shock mounts, shock towers. Pretty much it. And I see a couple turnbuckles right there. That was bag 8. Bag 9 are the dog bones and the universal and out drive. And they packed us some grease in a little zip top pouch. Interesting. Bag number 10, these are the lower arms and the hub assembly right here. And again, it comes with bearings already. And there are some ball connectors. And these are the pins. Bag 11 are the shocks or dampers. And these are plastic dampers. I'm probably going to replace these. But I understand if you're running a brushed system, plastic ones are perfectly fine. But I plan on going brushless, so I'm going to replace these with an aftermarket set. Bag number 12 are the body mounts. That looks like a bumper mount. Some foam padding, and that's probably a piece of double-sided tape. Body pins, some miscellaneous screws. This isn't labeled, but I looked at the manual online. This is bag 13. Bag 13 are the wheel hexes. These are plastic. Again, I'll probably replace these with something aftermarket. Bag 14, these are probably the rear hubs, out drives. There's a pinion gear. That is not the spur gear, I don't think. But that's bag 14. Bag 15, just a couple wrenches. There's the hex, the cross wrench, and this is a turnbuckle wrench. A couple Allen wrenches. There's some shock oil, probably shock oil. And here's the chassis. It's very hard plastic chassis. Very, very rigid. And it's the same layout as a TT02. So you got motor here, electronics, battery tray. This side is the front, this side is the rear. Layout is remarkably the same as in other shaft-driven cars, four-wheel drive. The Kyosho Phaser Mark II, same layout. The HPI RS4 Sport, same layout. And of course the TT02, same layout. Here's the foam bumper. And here's the manual. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. All right, so the Yokomo manual is in a portrait orientation. So let's see if I can keep everything in frame. And when you open this, it's a registration form, my Yoko user registration. I wonder if this is still valid. This kit is about 8 years old. And here's the parts list. It's all in Japanese, front and back. So I'm going to have to look at the exploded view in the back instead. Here's everything you'll need to put this kit together. This is basically all the electronics, the body and tires, and the paint the body. And this kit is Phillips screws, no hex screws. So all you need is a screwdriver, needle nose plier, side cutter, scissors, hobby knife, and then these three are included. All right, and this top page right here is obviously the chassis. The suspension mounts, that's a really simple first step. And then bag 2 gets a little bit more difficult. I'm going to be building the solid axle and the ball diff. Let's see. Next page, we're going to be building the ball diff. So the ball diff is in the back, and we have a spool in front. And pretty easy. I haven't built a ball diff in a long time, but this does have a ball diff in the back. And this is the bulkhead, the gearbox. Let's see, this page. More of the same. This is probably the rear gearbox or the front gearbox. Can't tell. And here is the steering assembly on this page. This is more assembly of the front and the rear. And here's the motor. It shows you the spur gear and the pinion gear. I think both of these are included, obviously. And the gear ratio for this car is 2.6. Internal gear ratio is 2.6, I think. Like I showed you, bag 7 were the servo accessories. And again, this is very similar to the TT02 layout. Bag 8, turnbuckles, the shock towers. Yikes. Next page, we have the front hub carrier and the rear hub carrier, universal drive shaft, and then assembling the front and the rear with the lower arms, and then installing the arms onto the chassis, front and rear. Building the shocks and installing the shocks. Body post and mounting the bumper. And that's the motor shroud. Gluing tires, which are not included. We'll have to get our own tires. I will probably just end up using the racing tires for the track that I'm going to be racing on for practice and for the race. So I'm going to need to buy 2 sets of those. And battery, very straightforward. And here's the exploded view. This is most of the drivetrain, and this is more of the chassis itself. And the last few pages are gear ratios. If you use a 48 pitch spur gear or 64 pitch spur gear, they have all the pinion gears on this side, and there's I think there's a gray here that you can't really see. The white part is where you're supposed to stay with. You can't really see it, but it's right here. This is the range they want you to stay in. So I'm really looking forward to building this and then comparing this to a TT02. I will try to compare this to the TT02 SR, and I'm going to point out just how much value is in this box with all the features that you're going to find in this box compared to a Tamiya standard TT02 chassis kit. I think this is an excellent value. Only downside to this kit is that it is 8 years old, and the spare parts and the hop-up parts are not as readily available as a TT02. Probably have to source them from either Europe or in Japan or Hong Kong. And there aren't a lot of parts here in the United States. But I understand that a lot of the parts for this car is actually same if not similar as the Yokomo BD7 and BD9. So those parts a little bit more available. So we may be able to swap out an arm or an axle with the BD9 if we needed to. But I understand this car is actually very tough. The design is very good. Actually, the plastic is very rigid. So I'm looking forward to building this, putting it together, and then racing it afterwards. So thanks for watching this video. If you found this helpful, please drop me a like and subscribe if you haven't. And we're going to be building this right after the 3 Racing D5S build series. So thanks for watching again. I'll see you guys in the next one.